Roma, Roma, Roma. I miss that. I cannot wait until we get back to the stadium. Season just ended though, so we gotta wait. We gotta be patient. Some important news today because we have rumors. In fact, not simple rumors. We have the national newspaper saying that reportedly Mourinho has called Marco Verratti, and that is something which is obviously the top priority to discuss today. But in these last couple of minutes, I would say, we also have another thing that we have to discuss. Breaking news, Benjamin Tahirovic to Ajax on a permanent deal for 8.5 million, the entire package includes. And that's another thing which we're going to focus on today. And then the last thing which I want to talk about is some updates when it comes to our stadium, because we do have some updates when it comes to that. They're very good updates, and yeah, I think it can form a very good chat. So yeah, if you haven't already, smash that like button and get ready because yeah, today's stream could be a very important one. The first thing, obviously, is we have the national newspaper, Il Corriere della Sera, which is not announced, it is said that Mourinho has reportedly contacted Marco Verratti. This is a strategy which we've seen many times. We've seen it with Tammy Abraham. We've seen it with Paulo Dybala. We have seen it happen many, many times. And the few times that we've seen it happen, it actually happened. It ended well. It also happened with Gini Wijnaldum. So yeah, I think it's definitely there to mention. The deal remains a very complicated deal. It would be very immature to think that, you know, now that Jose has called him, it's an easy deal. This remains a very complicated deal. I think the obstacle when it comes to this deal is his salary. It's his wages, because his wages are monstrous. So if the deal happens, it's because he has accepted that he has to lower those wages. Because otherwise, he will never come. You know, we've said it last time. PSG covers you with money. PSG fills you with money. It gives you kind of extra needed money, more than necessary. And it kind of transforms these players into money merchants. That's kind of the system of PSG, if you ask me. And yeah, I think that's why this deal remains a very complicated deal. If Verratti is open to decrease his salary, then I think this deal can take off. Because when you have a manager like Mourinho who calls him to try and convince him, you've got the player who wants to leave PSG because he's been targeted by fans, and we all know that in that toxic environment, when anybody gets targeted by fans, we all know what happens. You know, they literally hunt the player down. They go in front of their house, start protesting in front of their house, to the extent that, you know, the player's safety is also involved. And then you have a player which hypothetically decreases his salary. If these three things happen together and kind of we mix them together and something good happens, I genuinely think this deal can take off. Because I've said it many times, I expect the big signing coming this summer. I expect the big signing coming this summer because of you know, because of two reasons. The first reason of why we need a big signing is because of the way the Fredkins work. The way the Fredkins work has been made very clear since the day they came. Putting the brand in front of everything, increasing the brand name, making it more popular, and all of that. And it would only make sense that we buy another big player this summer. Because if we have, in the first year of the Fredkins operating, Mourinho announced, in the second year of the Fredkins operating, Dybala announced, then this can only continue. Why would it abruptly end? You know, the Fredkins have this philosophy where we have to make Roma a more popular brand. We have to make fans from all around the world buy a Roma kit, watch Roma games, buy Roma tickets and fly to Rome to watch a game. That's effectively their philosophy. So it would really not make sense if in the first year they do it with Mourinho, the second year they do it with Dybala, and then for them the third year to not do anything. It would not make sense whatsoever. So I do think a big signing will come. Obviously, when we mention the term big signing, obviously always remember the brackets, the realistic parenthesis. We cannot expect players like Mbappe, but I think that's something which everybody here has, because I'm pretty sure everybody here has got a lot of common knowledge. And yeah, I think Verratti is a big signing. I think Verratti is Mourinho's prototype player in a sense that he's aggressive, and Mourinho loves aggressive players, and that's the reason why Villar has been basically cut out of Roma's project, because he's not aggressive. Verratti is an aggressive player. Verratti is a player who is absolutely everywhere on that pitch. Has had insane seasons at PSG. Apart from this last one, he is coming from a very bad season. But apart from that, in these past few years, kind of not looking at this past season, but the earlier ones, including that Euro 2020 campaign with Italy, he was fundamental. As an Italian person, I can say that Italy won that Euro 2020 because of Chiesa up front, because of Verratti in the middle, and because of Donnarumma in goal. Those three players were the back spine of the reason why Italy won that tournament. One player in the attack, one player in the midfield, and one player in goal. And I think he's been insane. Yes, it is true. If you look at this past season, he's been terrible. But I reckon he's been terrible because of the way PSG work. Because of the environment PSG are clustrated in. When you have fans which turn against you, when you have fans which protest against you, come in front of your house to protest against you, it's not easy, and the player does get demoted. So I think it would be an incredible move. As I just said, however, it's complicated because of his wages. I think his wages are the reason why most probably this deal won't happen. But look, I've come to understand that when Jose goes, something good could happen. There's something about that man, and in terms of convincing players, speaking about the project, which, I don't know, always clicks the attention of players. So I'm faithful about this, but at the same time, I don't want to set my expectations too high in case it doesn't happen. The second reason why I expect us to have a big signing, and this kind of links with the Fredkins philosophy, is because it's kind of an effect towards the fans as well. Because I'm going to do this analogy again. If in the first year you buy Mourinho, and in the second year you buy Dybala, and in the third year you don't buy anyone, you are kind of washing away the hopes of fans. And that's obviously what ownership has to avoid. Because by having a big signing this summer, you can set those hopes of those fans very, very high. If you don't do that, then it will be easier for fans to exacerbate protests if something goes wrong in the middle of the season. Because I'll give you an example. If something goes very bad in the middle of the season, the fans can't go, oh well, it's the ownership fault, because the ownership bought insane players. If the ownership doesn't buy anyone this summer who's a big signing to kind of follow the path that they've been following, and something goes wrong this season, then the protests and the blame towards the ownership increases, because fans will say, well, things are going wrong because you didn't get me a solid player. So that's another analogy to take in consideration when explaining why I think a big signing will come. The chances of a big signing being Verratti, I'd say a 50-50. That Jose could convince him to lower his wages, as it could go, nah, I don't want to. I'd rather play for a Champions League side. Another reason is that he wants to play in Italy. I think as an Italian player who's never played in the Serie A, it's kind of like a joke. So he will definitely want to try a Serie A experience. Why not have it with us? So yeah, that kind of ends the Verratti situation. I think we have to wait. We've got to be patient. It's definitely a signing which will come towards the end of July, start of August if it comes. It's going to be a signing which takes time. We need to be patient. And yeah, I think I definitely don't think it's the priority right now. I think it will start to become a priority if Roma understands that the Frattesi path is completely done. If Roma and Pinto and Mourinho all understand, right, we can't do anything about Frattesi anymore, then I do think they will prepare a Verratti assault. But up to now, I don't think it's the priority. Up to now, the priority is selling players and buying a striker. That's definitely the priority right now. And yeah, I'll answer. Actually, now let me answer these two questions right now, because then we'll move on to Tahirovic so we can close the Verratti discussion. The Verratti move is akin to what we tried to do with Xhaka that never happened. Verratti will boss the midfield. Verratti or Frattesi, given the choice, I take Frattesi. I'd go Frattesi too, but it's one of those situations where I want Frattesi more than Verratti because he's younger, he's got more potentials. I love players who love clubs and are kind of fans of clubs. I love that mentality, so I'll definitely choose Frattesi. But it's one of those situations where if I get one of the other, it really doesn't change. I think Verratti is top class, and I think Frattesi can become top class. So any of the two, in my opinion, are great moves. I mean, look, yeah, Frattesi's been playing insanely well with the Italian national team. So yeah, so the competition will definitely increase. If Frattesi doesn't happen and we get Verratti, I will definitely not be mad. I think any of the two would massively increase your midfield box-to-box section. Anyways, we've done the Verratti ramble, let's call it. Let's move on to Tahirovic. Breaking news, Tahirovic is the first player to leave Roma in this summer window permanently, no buyback clause, 7.5 million right now, 1 million bonus, plus 15% of a future sale. I'm getting massive Frattesi vibes here. It's very similar to what we did with Frattesi. 7.5 million plus 1 million bonus to turn it to 8.5. 8.5 is the amount of money we get, plus 15% of a future sale. It's Frattesi 2.0. Look, I'll be very honest. I don't know how on earth Pinto managed to get 9. Let's round it up, 9 million for Tahirovic, because I'll be very honest with you. Tahirovic was a young player from our academy, but you can tell when a player is a young star in your academy. I have to be very honest with you. I got never massively impressed by Tahirovic. I got never impressed by Tahirovic in a sense that it made me go, oh wow, he's the future of this team. No, I think in fact, I would say that out of all the players, academy players that we've promoted into our first team this season, Tahirovic, in my opinion, was clearly the weakest. So getting 9 million rounded up for him, seeing the fact that we need money and that we need to make money by a certain deadline, to me is absolute gold. To me, it's absolutely gold getting 9 million for Tahirovic. Again, there's a risk in this. There's a risk in this because he can turn out to be an absolute baller. But we are in a position where if we get 9 million for Tahirovic, it's like gold dripping all over our hands. And that is why I'm surprised by this, because I would have never in my life imagined Pinto to collect 9 million for this deal. So yeah, I'm again, we can speak about us making this constant mistake of growing players and never actually capitalizing on them, loaning them out, growing them, but instead following the more, tragic path and selling them and making the money. But I don't think this conversation has to be applied on Tahirovic, because as I said before, Tahirovic can turn out to be a baller, but I was never massively impressed by him. So I'm happy we got 9 million for Tahirovic, especially because, realistically speaking, especially because when you've got Matic and Cristante, you're gonna buy a new box-to-box midfielder. You have seen the insane growth of Bove, Pellegrini, and all of these players. Tahirovic was never going to play. Never going to play. Mourinho likes Bove more than Tahirovic, so definitely would have prioritized Bove over Tahirovic. Even when it comes to himself for his own football career's sake, it's good that he left because he would never have played this season. And I'm not massively. Yes, you can always say that selling young players is a mistake, and I partly agree with that. Selling young players to make money is kind of going against the law of football, which is growing, turning into big players, and start these big players. But yeah, at the same time, I'm happy we got 9 million. And again, I've repeated this 20,000 times. I feel like I'm in this constant cycle repeating this thing. I would have rather gotten 9 million from Tahirovic than keep him. And you know me, I would rather grow young players than sell him immediately. But I acknowledge the fact that we need money and that we need to make money by a certain deadline. So I think if we start our selling campaign with 9 million for Tahirovic, it's proceeding really well. Because if we can get 9 million for Tahirovic, then we can easily get higher money for other players. Otherwise, I will never believe Thiago Pinto got 9 million for Tahirovic. It's hard to believe this. Lauren Delos Reyes, thank you very much for the $10 for the super sticker. Thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. So yeah, that's my parenthesis on Tahirovic. Not massively irritated. Could turn out to be a baller. And if he becomes a baller, I will be irritated. But as of now, I don't think he will become a baller. But I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, this entire rant which I've been going on for the past 10 minutes could be completely kind of like reflected. But as things stand, I'm not massively worried. And then the last thing is this stadium, because Roma is getting more approvals of this stadium. Yes, Roma is getting approved this plan. In fact, it got approved, and the building of this stadium is going to happen in these next couple of months. Again, I've said this many times. In Italy, there's this tendency which goes, we are very good at starting things and approving things. We're not very good at finishing these things. But when you look at the scale of this stadium, I definitely think it's a big project which will massively, massively increase the prestige of this team, because teams which have private stadiums are on a completely other level. UEFA also has a lot of benefits for teams which have private stadiums, and also if you have a private stadium, you don't need to think about loaning, paying rent, and all of that, which kind of links with more political things. But yeah, this is massive news. I think it's another massive step for this club to make, and I'm liking this because it's not just Roma who has been approved and is working towards their own stadium. We are seeing Milan, who is also working on building their own stadium, added to the Juventus having a private stadium, Atalanta, Udinese. So there's definitely this new look at the Serie A. And look, the Serie A lately, I will say it, has been, and in fact is still, a rotten league, in a sense that money does not get spent well, and that clubs which are part of the Serie A would rather keep the money for themselves rather than invest it to make the organization of football a better organization. And that also links to the Super League. And you're probably like, how the hell have you linked the Super League to stadiums? Well, I'm going to explain this. You look at the Super League teams, and the teams which wanted to sign that Super League, all of them were non-English teams. There were a few English teams, if I'm not wrong, but not many of them. The majority of teams were Italian teams or Spanish teams, which are teams which are part of organizations which would rather spend money to improve themselves rather than improve the entire organization. And that is the reason why the Premier League right now is in a completely different universe. Because money got spent well. In the La Liga or in the Serie A, money has not been spent well in these past years, making it rotten leagues with rotten stadiums, with, terrible differences between top teams and low teams. There's a massive difference between, let's take Inter and let's take Genoa, who got promoted. In the Premier League, that gap between big teams and low teams isn't existent, because they've spent money to improve the entire lot in these past years. Something which, I'm speaking on the behalf of Italian teams, it has not been done. It hasn't been done. Because money was spent for selfish means. So to see Roma, which is working towards their own private stadium, to see Milan, which are working towards their own private stadium, added onto the Atalanta one, there's a long way to go, but it's the right path to follow to bring this league where it belongs. And again, building your own private stadium will bring massive advantages. But yeah, look, ladies and gentlemen, in other live stream gone, we spoke about Verratti, Tahirovic leaving, and updates on our stadium. If you enjoyed this live stream, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Enjoyed everybody here, enjoyed it today. Good chats, good talks. And yeah, click all of the things below, and I'm going to catch you tomorrow, start of the new week. This is going to be a crucial week to unlock the Scamacca deal. So hopefully I'm expecting some updates when it comes to that. But yeah, I will speak to you in a bit. Simon, out.